everyone, I'm Trang
and I'm NṳNG,
and we are teachers from IELTS Trang Nguyễn, and welcome to IELTS speaking series today. In today's video, we're going to have an IELTS mock test. I mean 3 parts, IELTS speaking mock test. And I am the examiner today, and Miss NṳNG will be the candidate. So NṳNG, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so now let's start with speaking part 1. Question number 1, let's talk about hobby. Do you have a hobby?
Well, definitely I have acquired several hobbies of my own. Video gaming, reading books, listening to music, to name but a few. However, I think watching TV would take the biscuit. I mean, there's something about the telly that just transforms you into another world where everything is possible. Not only do movies provide a sort of escapism, it also arouses a sense of imagination and creativity. And I guess that's what makes it so good.
Next, what equipment do you need for it?
Not much really. I mean, watching TV is not a really demanding hobby like fishing or skiing. All you need is a television and a cable connection and you're good to go. You don't need any cutting-edge equipment in order to enjoy yourself.
Okay, next. The third question, do you think hobbies should be shared with other people?
Well, it really depends on the hobby. I mean, on the one hand, it does gives you a sense of community when you share your hobby with like-minded people. For example, anime fans, every year they travel thousands of miles to attend Comic-Cons and festivals just to meet similar-minded people. And I guess for their case, the more the merrier. However, some hobbies are best cherished alone, like knitting, for example.
Alright, next, let's talk about holidays. So what do you do on your holidays?
Well, unlike most people, I spend my holidays on my own. Sometimes I just lie around doing nothing, or occasionally I would curl up with a good book. I guess you can say I'm an introvert. However, like on very big holidays like New Year's Eve, Christmas, I would go outside and paint the town red.
And who do you spend your holiday with?
Oh, so that has changed through time. Back in the days, I would spend the lion's share of my holidays with my flesh and blood. To be more specific, my parents. However, now I live quite far from them, so spending the day with them is out of the question. Instead, I spend time on my own, indulge myself in a good movie.
Do you prefer traveling alone or in a group?
Oh, definitely alone, because like as an introvert, I get really stressed out when I'm with others. So I feel most at ease when I'm by myself doing whatever I like, and I can just have a blast, maybe sitting alone in a hotel room or maybe go out to see the sights.
Now let's talk about weather. The first question, what's the weather like today?
Well, I would have to say that it's quite nice outside today. I mean, it's finally stopped pouring and the clouds have cleared the way to make room for the sun. And I guess days like these are very few and far between in Vietnam.
Okay, and what is your favorite kind of weather?
Oh, this is an interesting question. I would say it's definitely when the sky is crystal clear and the temperature is just about right, 25 Celsius degree. To be more specific, the reason why I like it to be clear is because I detest dull weather. Somehow it really drags down my mood. Anyway, it's really hard to come by perfect day like this in Vietnam because it's usually boiling hot or freezing cold.
Okay, good. And the final questions in part 1. What's the climate like in your country?
Well, as I've said before, Vietnam is a tropical country and it lies near the equator, which means that it's usually extremely hot here. Also, one more thing that is defining about Vietnam climate is that it's very damp. So going outside during the summer would be a total nightmare.
Okay, so this is the end of part 1, and now let's come to part 2 of the IELTS speaking test. In part 2, you will have one topic and then you have 1 minute to think for the ideas and 2 minutes to talk about it. Okay, so here is your cue card. Okay, your topic today is describe a character from a story or a film or a TV program. And you should say who the character is, when you first saw or heard this story, and what kind of person this character is, and why you like this character. Alright, so let's look at your cue card, and now you have 1 minute, and your time starts now.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the leading lady role in a famous drama series I've just finished, which name is Living with Your Mother-in-Law. So the role I'm going to talk about is the mother-in-law, and it is played by a very seasoned actress whose name is NØNG. So I'm going to give you a bit of background information on this story. The movie revolves around the lives of a newlywed couple who has just moved in with their in-law parents. So as the story unravels, you constantly see the new bride cross swords with the mother-in-law. And that is where it all gets interesting. So about the leading lady role, what I first must mention is that she strikingly resembled the real-life mother-in-law figure, and I guess that's what taken me aback, because she has curly hair, a pair of iconic glasses that fits her character perfectly. About her characteristics, she is very nosy, always putting her nose in other people's business. She's very meddling. She's a control freak. She wants to take control of her children's lives. And at the end of the day, she's just one irritating middle-aged woman. And throughout the story, I started to develop a love-hate relationship with this character. I mean, on the one hand, I sympathize with her love for her only son, but on the other hand, she really gets on my nerves.
Okay, alright, so now let's come to part 3, the final part of the IELTS speaking test. And the first one, I want to ask you that, do you think drama series are popular in your country?
Well, I guess it really depends on your target audience. I mean, on the one hand, for middle-aged women, it is really all the rage. For them, soap opera has interesting story, and it has the right amount of plot twists to keep them on the edge of the seat. However, for teenagers or the more acquired audience, I guess it would be too boring and repetitive.
And next, do you think people prefer watching films at home or in the cinema?
That's a tough call, but I guess going to the cinema would be the superior option. I mean, I do understand why people like to go to the theater. There you have access to cutting-edge sound system, mega screens with high resolution, and the overall experience is just out of this world. At the end of the day, although going to the cinema does cost you a bit, I really think it's the bang for your buck.
Okay, and the final question, what does it take for a film to become successful?
Well, what you need to know is that to make a blockbuster, it requires the cooperation of countless people, from the actors, actresses, the director, to more backstage people like the lighting crew or the special effects crew. At the end of the day, you may say that a movie is a joint effort, and whether it strives to frame or not depends on the work and effort made by every one of those individuals.
Okay, so this is the end of your test, and how do you think about your performance?
I think I did all right. My English is a bit rusty.
Okay, so you seem to be very confident about your performance, right? So what do you think is the strongest point of you?
Well, I tried my best to showcase my vocabulary, but I think by doing so, I may have messed it up with the grammar.
Okay, so here is some of my comments for you. Firstly, I want to comment about your vocab, because you know I was strongly impressed by your vocab, because you know she can use like a wide range of lexical resources, as I can note down here, like around a sense of imagination, or cutting-edge technology, or pen and town read, or feel at ease. So I think that these are very like expensive lexical resources that you can get high score in the IELTS speaking test. And the way you speak also very naturally, and you can use a lot of fluency markers or fillers like I guess, or I mean, or like, how to say, something like this. Okay, so in general, I think that your performance was very good. And if I were a real examiner, I would definitely give you a Bden 8. You think so?
Just say it.
Ok, các bạn ơi, như vậy là phần thi của Miss Ngân Phạm đã kết thúc rồi. Và mình hy vọng rằng là sau phần thi này, sau cái bài mock test này, thì các bạn cũng có thể hình dung được phần nào về cái không khí thi trong một cái buổi thi IELTS Speaking 1-1 với giám khảo examiner người nước ngoài là như thế nào. Và chúng ta sẽ có những cái sự chuẩn bị tốt nhất cho kỳ thi IELTS Speaking của mình sắp tới nhé. Ok, xin chào các bạn và hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong các video sau. Bye bye.